Hey guys, my name's Troy Hoffman. I'm the founder of Simpleris and the founder of Balancegenics and an executive mentor. What we do every week here is we're creating these things called Fireside Chats. We basically transform this entire space into a studio every week. 4, 3. In the house today we've got Walt Tomolina. Today in the studio we have Ty Cannon. He's also one of the top anti-aging doctors in the country and probably even in the world. And what I want you to see is the opportunity to be exposed to all these different entrepreneurs, all these different people that can share their wisdom and insights, because one idea can change your life today.
They want to be part of the outcome, but they don't necessarily want to be part of the process because it's scary. And if they hear you say collision and they're afraid of conflict, I got to go to the restroom. I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. Yes, they've done that.
I realized there's over 27 different hormones and hormone metabolites that exert a tremendous effect on your body, your mind, your performance, and whether you live or die.
You can actually like apply something to that.
Oh, absolutely.
Being around the kind of people that I've been around, I've always been looking for clues. You know, what is it that makes the person who's number one at something so much different than number two? The answer to that question I found has changed over time. But today, as I'm out there for my show, Business and Burgers, right? Or I'm out there with Entrepreneur Magazine, I'm interviewing people or whatever, they're almost fanatical about learning. And it's because that they know this. They know that they need to keep up with that exponential growth.
One new concept, one new thing you can take back to your workplace, one new thing you can take back to your company, one new thing you can take back to your family to change the way you think and see and change everything about what you're doing and the actions you're going to take. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Fireside Chats. We have Scott Duffy. I say in the house, but it's in the harbor today. We have this cool location we're shooting out of today. And Scott, thanks for coming. Scott is the author of Breakthrough, which is basically published by Entrepreneur Magazine. And I love Entrepreneur Magazine and Inc. Magazine and like all these things. But Entrepreneur Magazine specifically, I grew up on Entrepreneur Magazine as a kid.
It's amazing.
I actually had a professor that would actually made us read it in God, it was it was a long time ago. I'm not even going to say how long ago it was, actually. I mean, they really date me and sound old, but it's a fantastic thing. So, man, and thank you for coming, and thank you for bringing your books, and we're here to share your story. And, Scott's actually a really good friend. I've known Scott a long time.
I am so excited to be here. I love you so much. I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of your show. I mean, thank you for having me.
No, it's awesome. So Scott, I met Scott through Entrepreneurs Organization, years ago, essentially, right? Yeah. And then one of the stories I always tell is when I was really one day when I was literally the company's falling apart and I'm falling apart. My belief system's completely falling apart. I called Scott up. I needed coaching, and this was a really company's crumbling type thing. Lots of problems. I think I owed $786,000 in the red in 2 months. Call Scott up, and Scott's I was how much? He's $2,500. Scott, I think I literally have in my entire name, company bank account, personal bank account, $1,186. Can I give you that, and will that work? You're yeah, come over. We'll spend the day working on your issues, right? And we go to Scott's office and sit there for 6 or 8 hours. I don't even remember what it was, whiteboarding ideas and things and concepts. And it was just one of those transformational moments of belief. Because you're well, I had to lay off 50 people one time. I was really? Yeah. And I was and he's not that bad. It's just after the first couple of, and it's one of those moments right there. You got to just build the belief. And it's it's funny. We've been building this Instagram thing. And one of the questions is well, how do I get a business going? I think one of the answers I've got is how do you build the belief inside of you? Sure. That's even possible.
Yeah.
You've got to know the possibility. Yeah. So how did in the world, I guess, Scott, I'd love for you to share, how in the world you became an entrepreneur? Yeah. And what made you so successful where you literally have Entrepreneur Magazine backing you? It's
anything that made me successful usually was led off by failure.
It's crazy.
Right? And learning about learning from those failures. But it's really interesting because the story really starts with a lot of our mutual friends. So I went to school down in San Diego at the University of San Diego, and I got some great advice from one of my family members. They said, on your first day of college, go to the career counseling department and get to know who runs it. and just build a relationship with that person. Tell them that next summer, so the summer after my freshman year, that you want to get an internship.
Yeah.
Build that relationship and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I build this relationship. It was great advice.
Yeah.
And one day I get a call.
Yeah.
And the guy says, he goes, you have got to come down here. I have got the most amazing internship for you. You're going to love this thing. And so back then, it was like you would get an internship for Microsoft.
Yeah, yeah.
Or FedEx or Xerox
Yeah.
back then. So I'm like, which one is it going to be?
Yeah.
And when he sits me down, he says this, AAA student painters.
That was
And
Mark and Jason.
I'm like, student painters? He's like, no, AAA student painters. And I said, what? I don't understand. And he said, just trust me on this. And I went and met with Mark Moses.
And Mark's huge.
Mark
is huge. He's the founder of CEO Coaching International. He built like $1 billion company, like with Jack Daly. I mean, he's all over. He's on the Inc. 500 list. His coaching company's on Inc. 500 now. I mean, like he wrote an elephant into his office one day to give a speech to his staff. Like Mark's the man. So keep going.
No, Mark's amazing. And so I met with Mark, whose company was Student Painters, and Jason Reed, one of my best friends to this day.
Jason's been on this show, and he was my coach for a while too. After you, like you hooked me up with Jason, to coach me for a while. He was on my case too, man. He's awesome.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
And so I met with him, and here's what Student Painters really gave me the opportunity to do. I mean, they taught me how to write a business plan.
Yeah.
They taught me how to build a team, how to manage against a budget, and they really gave me a roadmap. And so what I did is, you asked how I got started. This summer after my freshman year, I had a student painting business down in San Diego, and I had 14, 15 painters.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Like my buddy Kirk, who's our payroll company, right? Randomly is at the office. He's like, yeah, my son did that. And this was just like this year. So I shot a video and sent it to Jason.
Yeah.
His son had worked for Jason, was kind of chilling in life and got super excited about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
His dad owned a company, couldn't do it. But by him doing student painters, they learned how to do the marketing. They learned how to build their own business. Like, it's like the coolest program ever. I mean, it's impactful. Like truly impactful. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, so here's the thing. It's a great program, and when I look back at it, people ask, well, was it, were you successful? Because we had people in that company that were making, $100,000 a summer painting homes as college students and managing teams. And when they asked how I did, I mean, it was like everything was a disaster. It was a total disaster.
Nice.
And here's why. They would. When I signed up, basically what I did is
Someone hated a disaster out of curiosity. I want to hear this. And this is what people, I want to write a book or get a video series or something. I call it the first 3 to 5 or something. Yeah. Like you always see these movies about these billionaires or like Steve Jobs or all these super successful people or Rockefeller or whatever, right? And you always hear these huge things. They always said, oh, he just started out in a little office, and next thing you know, they're showing 1,000 employees. Yeah. And they always skip that first 3 to 5 years of growth, learning, and pain that everyone has to suffer through. Yeah. That no one talks about really that much. Really in detail, what were their schedules like? What were their disasters like? Sure. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's crazy. It'd be awesome to do a book or something like that. So keep going. So what happened for you? What were the disasters? Well,
sometimes we don't have to suffer as much as we do. And the thing about student painters is what we were effectively doing was buying it was like a franchise. They called us a branch manager, but we basically owned or controlled a territory. Yeah. And they gave us a manual, and it was like a step-by-step guide. We had this really cool little binder. Yeah. We were put through a version of the Xerox sales training course, which back in the day, that was
the thing. Xerox was the number one sales training course. I think ADP is the number one today. Yeah. For payroll, I think.
And so all I really had to do was follow the roadmap. Yeah. And so Jason would come down because I'd say my business wasn't working, and he'd say, "Well, let's open up the checklist. Yeah. Let's go through that day."
Jason Reed.
Even
back then, he was still coaching. He was born to coach, I think.
Well, so Mark was the person who ran student painters out here, and Jason was my district manager.
Got it.
And so he oversaw me, and he'd say, let's go through the checklist. And did you do this? Did you do that? And the answer was usually no. Yeah. And I think that, there's 2 ways that all of us can learn. We can learn either through trial and error, which, takes a lot of time, it costs a lot of money, or we can learn through modeling. Find people out there who are producing the results that we want. Find out what they're doing.
Yes.
Their beliefs.
Yes.
Their strategy, the syntax or order in which they're doing those things. Do the same things to produce the same results.
Yes.
But I think that oftentimes, even when we have that plan, we have that roadmap, we go off of it. Right? We start to think maybe there's a better way. Maybe I'm going to add my own like juice to this or whatever it is. And so, what was happening is I wasn't following the plan. And, it's like that old saying, if at first you don't succeed, do what your coach told you to do the first time.
Yes.
So it was.
That's a good one.
It was an incredible experience.
Listen to that one, everybody. Do what your coach told you to do the first time.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So it was an incredible experience. I really, I got at 18 years old the opportunity to roll up my sleeves, and instead of just learning about business, to actually do business.
Yeah.
And with College Pro painters, that's. Jason still continues that legacy today.
It's crazy, yeah, and still impacting lives like that. My friend's son, man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So you made it from that. Next thing you know, you're in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
You've told the pizza story to get with the resume in the pizza, delivering pizza to people to get your resume in the door. I mean, like, you've got so many stories. If you're out there today and you don't know Scott Duffy, like, seriously, you've got to follow this guy. This is not his only book, too. Like, he's got another book called Launch, which is fantastic, too. Breakthroughs, fantastic. And there's all these stories and there's all these videos with him online of all these amazing ideas. And he's a great storyteller. Like, Scott, you're just like really charismatic and really good on the camera. How did that happen, actually? Out of curiosity, like, how did you be transformed from this entrepreneur where you were like the sales and marketing leader? And then how'd you get in front of like the stage and the camera? And how'd you become like the voice of entrepreneurship in the nation? I mean, almost like feel like you're becoming that, right?
Well, thank you.
You know what I mean? With burgers and business on Microsoft, like all this crazy stuff,
Yeah, I think I got my start in the speaking and training business when I was young, and it really kind of happened by accident. So we talked about how I had my student painting business in college, and I loved college. I went down to school in San Diego, and I played college sports. I played rugby, and I did like the fraternity thing, and I was really having the time of my life. And then everything changed for me, and it happened in like a heartbeat.
With the accident.
Yeah.
And you were playing rugby before that.
I was playing rugby, during that time. And so what happened, for people who don't know, is there was a tradition down in San Diego at the time where I went to school, where after midterm exams in the spring and in the fall, we would all kind of get in our cars and we cruise 9 hours south to San Felipe, Mexico. Yeah. And we just like have fun and we like party, for like 3 days. Yeah. And in my junior year, my third year of school, I just happened to be like one of the first cars heading down. Yeah. And for people who've been down to Baja, Mexico, they'll understand what I'm talking about. There's these roads that have one lane in each direction, and then it's like literally desert as far as you can see. Yeah. And we were on one of those roads, and I don't know why, but for some reason, there's parts, of where it rises, and there's like this big drop, and then just desert. Well, a car had gone off the side, truck had gone off the side of the road where there was one of those drops, and we're just cruising along, going like 90 miles an hour, and the truck, he tried to gun it back on the road. Oh, and we didn't see him, and he said, boom, and we smashed this car. Wow. And it was like, it was the worst day of my life. Yeah. And the question I have for people is this. The question I have is, how many times in your life have you been going down a road, and maybe you're doing everything right? Maybe in business, that means that you had the perfect idea. You wrote the perfect plan. You put together a great team. You executed flawlessly. And then something out of nowhere, it's like, bam. Yeah. It came out of nowhere and it knocked you off course. Yes. And everything that you'd done up to that point, every plan that you wrote, every call that you made, every email, everything you did, you had to throw out. Yeah. And you had to start over. Well, that's what happened to me, basically. Because of my head injuries, I had 2 brain hemorrhages. I had to drop out of school. I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't read. I couldn't do, because of the head injuries during my recovery. But I picked up a habit. And the habit was I started to listen to motivational books on tape.
Yes, I remember you listened really softly because it hurt if it was too loud.
That's right.
And I thought that was cool. Like, Yeah, that's what changed my life. Like literally 17, 18 years old,
Yeah.
getting an Amway, and there's books, tapes, and functions, and you hear these stories on these people on stage. Like, I didn't get anywhere with Amway.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, those books, tapes, and functions changed my life. I would wear a suit. I started believing more in entrepreneurship. I mean, I started understanding this type of stuff, like how you can actually have a dream and go after it and build something great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that changed my life forever.
It was incredible. So I started by listening. My first tape was a guy named Dennis Waitley.
Yeah, I love Dennis Waitley.
And
I got to meet him in Cocoa Beach, Florida, randomly enough. He was there, and his I don't know, whoever he was with at the time, she was involved with some supplement company, multi-level market. I get to spend literally all night at dinner and all night with him, just hanging out when I was like 20 years old or 19 years old. It was the coolest experience ever. Like, so keep going.
Yeah. So it was Dennis, and then it was other people back in the day. At that time, it was Zig Ziglar and Les Brown, and Tony Robbins was, he had his infomercial that had just come out. And so as I started to feel better, I decided that I wanted to go back to college, and I wanted to work for one of these people that I felt really helped to inspire me as an intern.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And go back to college. And the first person I applied to work for as an intern was Tony, because he was the closest to where I lived.
Yeah.
And instead of an internship, I was offered this cool job to go and train and to promote and sell his programs. And so I actually, I got my start speaking early. And by the time I was probably 22 maybe, I'd done probably 300 workshops for him in the United States and Canada. And during that time, I also had an opportunity to work and promote Jim Rohn. And
so were you doing the speaking thing, like literally up until it seems like a couple of years ago, you just started blowing up or something out of nowhere, right? So what made you, were you just started to push it, or you like, I got rid of the last couple of companies, is this what I'm going into now, or?
Well,
you're kind of an evangelist for startups. You're an evangelist for EO, evangelist for entrepreneurs right now. And now you've got this amazing mastermind, guys. I mean, if you guys don't know about the mastermind, how do people find out about the mastermind again? Where do they go to? It's Scott Duffy.
Go to scottduffy.com.
Scottduffy.com.
Click on mastermind, and you'll see the mastermind.
Okay. Which is amazing. The most amazing people are in this mastermind. We were just in New York City for a week. We're at these we're meeting Cashman.
Brian Cashman.
We had to meet Brian Cashman at the Yankee Stadium. This guy is huge. We had to learn all about Moneyball. And all the other people that just randomly started showing up at this house throughout the day. It was insane. So keep going.
Well, that's how you asked how I got started. I got started early in the training business, and I was fortunate because I was in a job that required me to speak a bunch. And so where most people in our industry, may speak a couple of times a year, we would speak 5 times a day, and we do it, 5 to 7 days a week. And so in a really short period of time, because of the practice, we got good at what we did. We either developed good habits or bad habits, but we had great coaching. And so I did that, and then eventually I just kind of burned out of it. I think in life, we just
go through stages.
You go through stages, and I decided that I wanted to do something else. And
Scott also, for those who don't know, Scott sold a company to with Richard Branson. He was a CEO of one of Richard Branson's companies. You did that, and then what did you do after that? You've had a few other startups, and then you're really doing this now, just full time, right?
Well, after I sold the company, I basically cried a lot.
Really?
I say it's a joke, but it's serious because, I appreciate you kind of, building me up and talking about some of the wins. And I was really fortunate because I had the opportunity, I positioned myself, but I had the opportunity to work for some amazing entrepreneurs and businesses at a very early stage. Companies that became, I was very early in consumer internet. So companies that became CBSSports.com, NBC Internet. I helped to launch FoxSports.com.
So is that how you met Dave Meltzer then?
Well, so I met Dave later, but what I wanted to highlight, so you've got these wins in Virgin, but as an entrepreneur, it's not just about the wins. It's really, in order to get there, there's a lot of highs and lows.
Yes.
There's a lot of ups and downs.
Which I don't think people talk to enough. I almost want to write a book called Entrepreneurship PTSD.
Yeah.
Or Entrepreneur PTSD or Leadership Sucks or something. I feel like there needs to be a lot more on this because everybody goes through it. And the intensity, it's it's relentless. The intensity, the pressure, the problems, the disasters, the highs, the lows, and a lot more lows than there are highs, and they hit you like almost all day long. This employee's suing you. This person's just suing you. Cash flow issues. People are quitting on. I mean, it's like, oh, every day, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you deal with that? So keep going.
Well, so
Share some of these highs and lows, like, and the lows, like what happened to you? Because everyone knows your highs. I mean,
yeah. So I think we were just talking about so you have this this series of companies that do well for one reason or another, and then I had this exit, and I really at that time I thought, I mean, oh my gosh, how could it get better? I had made a bunch of money. I had worked for these really cool companies, right, and that had these pretty quick exits, and and I sold a company to the Virgin Group, which was like my favorite brand.
Yeah.
And my dream, like the person, the entrepreneur I looked up to the most.
Richard Branson.
How can this get better? And and the month that we launched our company is a Virgin brand. So for the audience, so what I did is I started a company, and it was called Smart Charter, and the idea was to create something like Expedia, but for private jets. So if you wanted to book travel on a private jet, you could do a search, and you could find the inventory, and you could book it. That was the basic idea. And the month before it was acquired, it became called renamed Virgin Charter, and the month that we launched as Virgin, I'll never forget, the month before was the best month like in history for the private jet business. There were more planes sold, there were more hours flown. It was amazing. The perfect partner.
We have a helicopter going by right now at the same time to promote, to really lock it in that it's you sold a Virgin private plane, private charter.
It's the perfect, it's the perfect entrepreneur, it's the perfect brand, it's the perfect time, it's all that kind of stuff. And then what happened?
Why was it so bad then?
Well, so
what happened that made it so bad afterward? Seems like every entrepreneur's dream.
Yeah.
Cash out, sail away in the sunset, all that, right?
Yeah. So, what happened was the market crash. And it's interesting because when you line all that stuff up, what I thought I had was a sure thing, and there's only one thing that I've learned about sure things, and that's that there's really nothing sure about them. Because as entrepreneurs, there's so many things that we don't control. And so, what happened to me is I was in a position where it was like the dream, everything.
Wow,
and then the market crashed. Yeah. And in a period of like 9 months, I lost everything. I mean, I went from, where I was to $400,000 in debt. To, a place where, I left in debt, I left the company. I didn't know what to do. I had my first daughter, pregnant with the second daughter. Wow. It was really tough. And so I did what I thought every good entrepreneur would do in that circumstance.
Start another company.
No, I rolled up in the corner, and I basically laid in the fetal position for months. What are you going to do, right? That's what I did, and it was a very difficult time. And
I've done it. I went bankrupt at 24.
Yeah.
The first time, and then and had to leave another company at one point to start this one, and it was just both times where that transition period was just miserable. Losing everything, out of money, moved back with parents, all of that. I was that broke. At 24, it was miserable. Sad, and it's crazy. So keep going.
Well, it's tough, and early, that's we all go through these highs and lows and these ups and downs, like you talked about. And so for me, it was, what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, they go through this struggle at different times in their life, where they may have all of the energy, the enthusiasm, the passion, the desire. They may have all the leverage to get up and do whatever it takes to relaunch.
But it's hard.
But it's hard. They don't know how to do it. They don't know where to find it. And they know that if they could just get that one big break, it would change everything, but they can't find it. And so for me, I thought I got it. So for me, what happened was I got a call. And the call was from a friend of mine. And he said, "Hey, Scott," he said, "I heard that you're looking for a new gig. You're looking for a company to run." And I said, "I am." And he goes, "Awesome, you're hired." And I go, "That's great." I said, "What am I going to do? What am I going to run?" And he goes, "What does it matter? You need the work." And I'm like, I overthink everything. Right? So he says, "You're hired." He says, "Come and have lunch with me today in Pasadena." So I drove my car to Pasadena. I was so excited to figure out what it was. And And so I said, what is it that you want me to run? And he said, you know what? I've decided that you're not going to run the company. And I said, okay, that's cool. I said, what do you want me to do? And he said, I want you to sell. And I was like, oh, yeah, what do you want me to sell? And he said, I want you to sell pee. And I said, well, you want me to sell pee? What is that? He said, well, look, here's the thing. He said, I just bought this new research lab. And he said, and we specialize in processing urine. And he said, so what we do is we go to all these
huge.
doctors'
like
offices.
urinalysis, yeah. It's a huge market right now.
You put it in the thing.
For all the testosterone and estrogen testing that everyone's going there doing the 24-hour urine analysis. All the older men and women are doing it now. I mean, that's like one of the best ways figure out where you're really at. You know? We do a full 24-hour test, so it's crazy. So keep going.
Well, no. So he said I want you to, and he said I have a vision for you. And by the way, if you don't have a vision for yourself, somebody else is going to put you in their vision. That's just the way it works, right? And he said I have a vision for you, and the vision is that you're going to cruise around Southern California, and you're going to knock on every doctor's door, and you're going to win their pee business. He goes, in fact, I have my big vision for you in the next year is that you become the king of pee.
I don't think that's a prudent way to recruit people. I don't know. Did that work?
But that was my first job offer after running, selling a company to Virgin and having all this stuff. And so
you go from private planes to pee. That should be the next book title is Private Planes to Pee.
To pee.
Literally, and just talk about the pain entrepreneurs suffer or something. So
so
P to P.
So I think my point is this. My point is that in entrepreneurship, and like we all have these highs and lows and these ups and downs, and then the question is how do we deal with it? Because it's not what happens to us; it's what we do with what happens to us. And I can tell you what I did. What I did is I just got pissed.
Yeah.
I got pissed at everybody and everything. I was pissed that he offered me that job. How dare, what do you, why would you offer me?
In a good way? Like, I'm going to do this piss, or piss in a bad way? Like, screw everybody, I'm pissed, I'm just tired of dealing with this crap. This is not what I want to be doing.
No, I was pissed because my ego is bigger than the room.
Yeah,
I was pissed because how could somebody offer me that job when I felt I had so much more to offer? I had done all these things for these big brands. And so for me, personally.
The ego, it's not my amigo. I mean, it really is.
The ego is not my amigo. I like
it's
that.
very true. Like, it holds us back more than it helps us half the time. So yeah.
So then so I struggled, and I think that as an entrepreneur, one of the things that we tend to do in life, what we tend to do is if things don't work out the way we want them to work out, we tend to double down. We do the same thing that used to work for us in the past, but we do it more and harder. More and harder, more and harder. So that's what I did. And the world was changing around me. And the things that I did the things I was really good at, those things, in some cases, they weren't as, they were kind of becoming obsolete, some of those skills. And I stopped learning, and I just got pissed. And so one day, when I felt like I'd really hit rock bottom. And the thing is, we're both big on hiring coaches, and I kept hiring the best. I've got a freaking great network and people around me, and I kept hiring these great coaches. And I'd say, what am I doing wrong? And they'd say, you're doing it right. You're doing it right. You're going through the checklist. Everything I'm telling you to do about your business, so what is it? And one day, I just completely fell apart, and I called one of my best friends, Dave Meltzer, who we were talking about earlier. And I go, Dave, I said, I don't know how to turn this shit around. And he said this, he said, we're going to stop being focused on your business. We're going to start focusing on your head.
100%, dude. That's right there. You got to start with your body, then your being, then your balance, then your business. And if you function in that order, you're almost destined to be successful because you'll have the energy, you'll have the passion, you'll have the clarity, you'll have the focus, you'll have whatever it needs to really manifest in massive ways on a daily basis. I wish someone would taught me just that decades ago. So keep going.
Well, so then
what did Dave say? What was the formula, or what was the?
Well, it was simple. I mean, it's simple when I talk about it, but it was harder in practice.
100%. It's simple to live life in a lot of ways, but it's hard to really do it. The simple is go drink a veggie drink every day, go work out every day. Simple. Hard is actually going to work out every day and drink the veggie drink every day.
Right.
So
basically, what we did is we did 4 things. The first is he said, I need you to become accountable for everything. Just become accountable. Take extreme ownership and be accountable for
truthful
everything.
with yourself. Be
Number
truthful
one,
with everyone.
be accountable for
And
everything.
I own this. I own my own crap.
Yeah. Number two, forgive yourself for everything. And for me, that was the hardest part. Just, you got to forgive yourself for everything. Number three was find the lesson in everything. And number four was be grateful for everything. And not just gratitude, not just in the sense I'm going to say, hey, thank you for this beautiful, like, you got to really, like, you got to feel it.
Yeah.
In all of your cells.
Like I'm grateful that you're here today. Like I really am grateful you're here. I'm grateful Bob's recording over here. I'm grateful that all these people are packing in the house. I'm grateful with this awesome camera crew. And then the girl that I saw at the Long Beach State Film Program is behind one of the cameras. Like I'm grateful that the God or the universe or whatever brings us all together. And it's like it's amazing what we're doing today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing. We get to impact lives, and this is huge, right? And you just feel, and it's just like, it energizes you. That makes sense? It's like, no, I love, and Dave's like all about gratitude.
Yeah.
He's like the epitome of like the coach of gratitude right now, I feel like right now, right?
Well, he's exceptional. And so it's really those four things. I think it's so important for anyone that's going through a period in their life, or to make this a practice, that number one, you take accountability for everything.
So this is your camera. Or you look at that camera and share away right now. Like, I mean,
Okay.
like, and guys, listen to, like, this is a huge opportunity right now, too. Because if this is what changed Scott when he was at his lowest, right? And this is what one of those things that, like, literally launches him off. Mm-hmm. You pick up these things, and these are the things where you hear the stories of other people who have actually lived something. And when and it's not something that you can be taught, it's got to be caught inside of you. And I would say, Scott, just go, man. Just, like, share away. I need you to
then what I would say is this. I would say, if you're in that place right now, what I would do is I would focus on these four things. Take accountability for everything, right? Own it. Forgive yourself for everything. Be thankful, or learn the lesson in everything, and be grateful for everything. And then, once you've done those things, or while you're doing those things, I think it's really important for all of us to take a look at the people around us. Mm-hmm. Because, we hear it over and over again, but we're the average of the 5 people we spend our time with. Nothing more, nothing less. And so if you were to take a piece of paper and write down a list of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and next to each name, you wrote down what they earned. And then you added it all up and divided it by 5 people, that's exactly what you earn. And you can take that lesson and you can apply that to virtually any area of your life. Fit people hang around fit people, unhappy people hang around unhappy people. So, if you want to know, the difference between where you are today and where you want to be, it may be as simple as looking at the last 5 people that you called on your cell phone. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, those 2 things in tandem are just so important.
That's crazy. Now, when you had that meeting with Dave.
And for me, that is what turned everything around. And when things turned around, turned around.
So you met with Dave.
Yeah.
You called him up, or you talked to him on the phone.
Yeah.
And then you actually put these in practice.
Yeah.
And when you put them in practice, you're like, okay. Number one, I'm going to take accountability.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Okay, I'm the one that's screwing my life up. I'm controlling my own purpose and destiny. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, right?
Yeah.
Like, what were these things you're actually saying to yourself? And your gratitude, where you're like, okay, I'm grateful that I have this little baby that's mine. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, like, what were some of the things you're actually, like, grateful for? What were the things you actually took accountability for? Where were you lying to yourself? Where were you BSing yourself? Where were you blaming the economy, blaming Virgin, blaming other people out there, blaming these other owners or whatever? Like, what were the things that you were experiencing? Like, do you remember those? Like, where were you not taking ownership?
Well, I think I started by being aware of the stories that I was telling myself. There's the great line from Tony Robbins that, the only thing keeping us from everything we want in life is the bullshit story that we have about 100%. Why we can't have it, right? And so I was telling stories to myself, it was the market's fault that, we got into issues with the company. It was this person's fault, that person's fault. But when I took a look and I took extreme ownership, I found that there were other things that I could do. And I think that the one thing that I really wasn't doing that was hurting me the most was I stopped learning. I was a guy that, I'd done 300 workshops for Tony Robbins, right? Who's fucking amazing. Yeah. By the time I was I was really young. I know this stuff, right? I don't need to learn more of it, but here's the thing. It used to be, particularly in business, that change happened in a really linear fashion. Things just move so slow. Yeah. But today, technology's changed all that.
You have to learn every day. You have to study every day.
You do. And
then really learn. unlearn the old things and relearn the new things. We have to learn to live and survive in this moment today.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. You have to unlearn bad behaviors, bad thought patterns, or things you thought that business was, to what even, like learning today, like what is ClickFunnels? What is online marketing? How do you build a social following? Whatever it is, like it's like learning a whole new game over and over and over again. You've got to study and then apply it.
Yeah.
Like really learn, like where it's actually part of you and you're actually stepping into it and actually doing the work. You know what I mean? It's like one of those, part of the thing we try to teach in this program is, one is getting rid of your bullshit stories. Like people, we all make these things up in our head, and they just hold us back more than anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, all of us have it too. It's the craziest thing. The more you dive into it, like, I mean, some people out there who are watching this that know you from another side may not know these things.
Yeah.
So that's why I like that when people are sharing this, like, what is the truth? Like, what was a real thought pattern? Like, man, the bullshit story I was telling myself was X. Then I changed it. I say, no, it's my accountability. Like, I can do anything and manifest anything. I am Scott Duffy or whoever. Like, I'm Troy Hoffman. I am whoever. Bob Donnell is over here watching in the back. Like, and we can do anything because we own it.
Sure.
So keep going, man.
Well, I mean that's really it. Is that, you know, you're right. You have to own it, and you have to take responsibility for it, and you have to learn from it, and you have to be grateful for it, and that is not necessarily easy, but it's, you know.
So what was hard about it for you?
But the learning, going back to the learning is so important, and I love to give this example. 100 years ago, in 1919, you know, the average man in the U.S. lived to be 49 years old. Lived to be 49 years old. I'm 48. That freaks me out.
1 year left, according to that statistic.
100 years ago.
Yeah.
And maybe back then being good at one thing was good enough, but that's no longer the case. And if you know, in fact, last year's graduating class in college, so the United States 2018 graduating class, the top 10 jobs that those students applied for did not exist 10 years ago. Didn't exist 10 years ago. And so what I'm here to tell you and tell everyone today is this, is whatever it is that you were awesome at, you know, 5 years ago, that thing that made you you, it was like the thing, it was your superhero power 5 years ago, is your baggage today.
Correct.
And by the way, that's the difference that makes the difference.
How did that relate to you?
And the way that related to me was,
what was
I
that
stopped
specifically?
learning. What specifically is I stopped learning. I thought that I knew it. I thought that I knew enough. I thought that I
And this was
developed.
when? How long ago was this?
10 years ago, 5 years ago,
Okay,
4
got it.
years ago. You know, and it really took spending time, because, you know, being around the kind of people that I've been around, I've always been looking for clues. You know, what is it that makes the person who's number one at something so much different than number two? And the answer to that question I found has changed over time. But today, as I'm out there for my show Business and Burgers, right? Or I'm out there with Entrepreneur Magazine, I'm interviewing people or whatever, what I'm finding is the most common characteristic between top performers is this. They have got this crazy, this passionate, they're almost fanatical about learning. And it's because that they know this. They know that they need to keep up with that
100%.
exponential growth.
Like, people think I'm
Or
crazy.
change.
I go to so many seminars and I'm involved in so many things and reading so many books and trying to go, like, and trying to apply this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, even the conversations we're having, like, we were here till late one night just talking about new subjects for our own company, and I'm just learning from hearing what these stories are that Joel was sharing, and it's just like, you have to. I mean, you have to spend like hours a day almost learning now, understanding what are this brand doing, how are these people marketing, how's SEO working, and how also now Instagram's changing their formula like in one day, and like all this concept, and even like how do you impact people's lives? Like, how do I even connect more deeper with the people around me and give better leadership and better guidance, and then be able to pull out of them their gifting and strengths. Yeah. And there's just so much to learn.
Well, here's the trick.
You know?
Here's the trick. I don't think it's about spending hours a day learning. I think what's more important is the consistent, meaning every single day, and persistent, meaning never quitting, pursuit of your pure potential in a particular area. And so what that means is I would rather practice something for 5 minutes a day than for 5 hours on Sunday. You see, here's what happens. What happens in life is this. What happens is we decide that we want to get better at this.
So what have you been doing specifically? Is there like something you've been learning? Or
yeah, so let me share. So we want to get better at something, and so we start on Monday. I'll use a diet as an example.
Yeah.
We want to lose weight. So we start on Monday, right? We practice on Monday, and then we do the same thing. We do really good on Tuesday. So on that first day, we get kind of the power in the universe, that exponential factor times 1. The second day times 2. The third day times 3. And then on Sunday, what happens is we blow it all out. Right, we completely screw up our diet. We get back to it on Monday. We have to start over. Right, the power of the universe times 1. This exponential factor times 2. So at the end of the month, here's what happens: you get 2 people standing next to each other, and one person has these incredible results because they did it every day. They practiced it for 5 minutes. Right, there's the exponential power times 30. It's like this incredible multiplier effect versus the person who had to start over every Monday. You see what I'm saying? And so I would rather practice for 5 minutes a day than 5 hours on Sunday, because that is where the exponential growth takes place. And if you want to stay ahead in today's world, right, if you want to be able to keep up with exponential change, those are the kind of habits and practices that you have to integrate in your life.
So what are those specifically for you? Like, what does that really look like? Things that you've seen or you're applying, or like you're like doing the veggie drink every day, or I go try to do the walk and the stretching every day to rehab my legs when I get hit by a car. Like, I just have to do it every day no matter what. Like, it's just crazy. Or I get tight and I can't even bend over and touch my toes at all. Like, what is that for? Like, I try to make sure every day I'm listening to books on tape on my car while I'm driving, or every day I'm trying to like, and it's just constantly compounding. Or do this thing called the stack, where it's like a way of changing your BS stories. It's like Byron Katie stuff. You ask yourself, what is a bullshit story I'm telling myself? How do I, and then looking at different angles, and then what's the lesson I learned from it at the end? Every day, trying to, change my mindset. Going to working with coaches that do NLP really well to say, okay, what area do I really want to transform my life? And I try to do this like week in, week out, day in, day out, like constantly trying to stack all this knowledge, every day. So what are those things for you that you find yourself doing specifically right now that you're trying to get? I'm going after this result. I know one time you did the bodybuilding competition randomly, but what is that currently in your life? What does that look like, out of curiosity?
Well, I think that the first practice is to become a master of your calendar. I think I find this to be a really big, this is a really big issue with entrepreneurs.
You're huge. Like, you do a lot. Like, you're packing in like 20, 30 calls a day. You're connecting with millions of people, I feel like.
Yeah, well, I mean, what will happen is somebody will say, well, I'm too busy to do this, or I'm too busy to do that. But the thing is, we all have 24 hours a day, and you could break it down into how many hours, how many minutes, how many seconds that is. And so it's a matter of the choices that we make. What do we want to prioritize, right? So number 1, it's to become a master of your calendar. Number 2, for me, because you're asking about habits and practices, it's about taking care of myself. Right? I can't give what I don't have. I can't give energy if I don't have it. I can't give love if I'm not practicing self-care and practicing that kind of myself. So where I go,
like specifics.
So where I go with the calendar first is to my fitness, my exercise and fitness. So for me, what that means is it means meditation. It means going to yoga and practicing yoga. It means or other forms of exercise. Just getting out and walking. I mean, walk for 5 minutes a day. Get up for 5 minutes a day. If you don't do it at all, do it for 7 days a week. It will have a multiplier effect. Right? And so that's what I do. It's number 1 about becoming a master of your calendar and determining what your priorities are. You see, in life, I think that we have, as entrepreneurs, we're always juggling, right? And we're juggling 2 kinds of balls. There's super balls and there's glass balls. And super balls, they're made of rubber and they bounce. And glass balls shatter. And here's what I mean. You're juggling your health. You're juggling your finances. You're juggling your life at home. You're juggling payroll. You're juggling all these things. Eventually, you can't juggle everything and something falls to the ground. If it's a super ball, like my business as an example, if it falls, I know if I go back and I reapply myself, it's going to bounce back and I'll catch it. And boom, boom, boom. There's other areas of our life, like our health. Right? If we drop that glass ball, that could shatter. We may not be able to get it back. And so I think that we have to understand what are the super balls, what are the glass balls in our life, and prioritize. And we need to start by being a master of our calendar and understanding that you don't build your business day first. What you do is you figure out where the fuck you're going to exercise first, and then you build the rest of your day around
Like in your first book you wrote, The Launch, you said the number 1 thing, the most important thing to the top CEOs in the nation and the world is exercise. They exercise every day. That's the way all successful top entrepreneurs, CEOs, like even world leaders, man, it is important for exercise to be in their life.
Can I share that story? Because I think that's really profound. It was 2008, the market was crashing, everything was exploding. Richard Branson invited a bunch of CEOs, a lot of travel company CEOs to his home on Necker Island to talk about, what does the world look like now? What's it going to look? What are we going to do? And so we on the last day. I mean, I was just freaking out because the way it was affecting my business. Crazy. And I was on Tortola, and there were 2 planes, and I went to say goodbye to Steve Ridgeway, and Steve Ridgeway was the CEO of Virgin Atlantic. He is an iconic CEO in aviation. And I went up to him because the commercial airlines were getting killed at the time. And I went up to him and I said, Steve, I have a question. I said, I just want to know one nugget because, dude, I respect you so much. What is the number one thing, the most important part of your job? Because I want to integrate it when I go home. And I expected him to say something like leadership or team building or communication or whatever it was. And he said this, exercise. Yeah. And I said, exercise? I said, I'm surprised that you would say that. Yeah. And he looked at me and he goes, I am so disappointed that you're surprised. And he turned around and walked away. And then I was like, okay. So I get on a plane later that day with David Cush. And David Cush is the CEO of Virgin America. Yeah. And I'm sitting next to David, and I go, David, I said, you wouldn't believe that. I just had this conversation with Steve. And I asked him, I said, what is the most important part of your job? And you wouldn't believe what he said. And didn't miss a beat. David goes, well, that's easy, exercise. Yes. And I go, two of them, the most powerful people in one of the biggest industries in the world had the same answer, exercise. And I said, why? And what David said to me is this, he said, when times get tough, you have to be the toughest person in the room. And if you're not taking care of yourself, there's no way that you can be, So, when you have that bad board meeting, right? Or you have that bad investor call, stop blaming other things, ask yourself questions. Maybe you have to rewrite your story and ask yourself a question. How was I responsible? Take accountability for it. What did I do or what didn't I do? Forgive yourself for it. What can I learn from it? And how can I be grateful for it? Because I'm going to apply this the next time and get a better result. Yeah.
And you have the energy because you're doing the exercise to implement that.
Yeah, the energy.
That's why it's
you have
body
the clear
first,
mind. Right.
Then being, then balance, then business. Stacked in that order. Body, then being, then balance, then business. And when you stack in that order, you have so what does that look like for you? Is there like a ritual? One of the things I'm fascinated by is literally you were talking about schedules and calendar is how do I stack my schedule? How do I, and especially when even today, everything was by the time we're getting home, it's late. By the time we're getting up, it's early. You know what I mean? And then all this stuff and then this event's going on and I'm trying to schedule with everybody, get everybody here. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just you're packed full of people and my thing gets knocked out of, my normal routine gets knocked out of whack. Or all of a sudden we do an early retreat that starts at 7. I won't do a morning retreat. And then we're traveling and we're flying, we're eating bad. And so what is it for you? You're traveling a lot. You're not stationary in one place, really. You're not like a normal person who wakes up in the same house every day, goes to the same office, comes back, which is a lot easier to build a routine in those environments. So how are you?
Or maybe that is a normal person.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason I say that is we all need to shift our perspective.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? We have to have our own
definitions. I feel like I'm never in
Yeah.
the same place. I'm always at another place, another conference, another hotel.
So you need to prioritize. So what I would offer is,
what do you do?
It starts with being a master of your calendar. Understanding what the super balls and the glass balls are.
What is that for you?
Prioritizing my health.
Do you wake up in the morning? Is that your first thing? You go for a walk? You do what is that?
But so I think that this idea of waking up at I'll just give an example. Yeah. Waking up at X a.m. in the morning, going and doing my meditation, going in and working out, going in and then hitting the whatever. I can't do that every day, and I can't do that every day because I'm on an airplane. At that time, I'm this, I'm that, or the other. So what's important is to become a master of my calendar so that I know that, okay, that's my schedule tomorrow. And so I can plan ahead and know that on this day, my workout is going to be at the end of the day. Right? My meditation is going to be at the end of the day. So like I said, it's all about mastering our calendar.
Are you doing meditation?
I do a ton of meditation. I love meditation.
What does that look like for you? What type of meditation are you doing? Out of curiosity.
Well, I think that, the most important part, about this word meditation is just being present. So to me, that's what it means. And
Mark Divine's got the box breathing meditation that he teaches, Other people just sit in silence. Other people teach just going down and focus on that. All these random things that people do practice. You have the meditation apps like Calm, and you play that for 8 minutes or 9 or 12 minutes and just go through it. Imagine the the noises and the sounds, whatever it is, and everyone's got these different practices. What's yours look like?
Mine is whatever it is that I can do at that time to be present. That's my meditation practice. So sometimes my meditation practice is just being quiet, walking up the hill. You know, sometimes my meditation practice is turning on a Wayne Dyer, MP3 and listening.
He's the king of it.
He's amazing, and doing it like an awe or an O meditation.
Yeah, he had the whole CD, right? It's like an old school Wayne Dyer meditation CD where you go, right. And that was a Wayne Dyer meditation CD. Like my Walt Tomolinas, it was like all these ERA showcase realities in Southern California.
Yeah.
That was like the one thing he said that changed his life was learning meditation, and it was Wayne Dyer's tape, and he made me do it for a while.
Well, I think so. I would say a couple things around meditation. I would say that we tend to make people tend to make it really easy for them to feel like they failed.
Yeah.
We set these standards for ourselves where like I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do it in this perfect set way in particular order and things like that. And if I don't, I failed. So what I have to do is I have to, because of my schedule and because of what I do, open myself up to possibility. When I was driving down here, I was in the car and said, I just want to be quiet for a little bit and I just want to get centered, and I prayed. And I did what some people may call meditation, and I just got present, and thought about today and thought about the outcomes. I visioned what we were going to do here, and stuff like that. And so for me, that served as a meditation. Later today, I may have time to sit in a quiet room and do something. So again, what I think is if we redefine,
it's fascinating what people do, though. To me, I think you really understand what we always want to know what's inside your mind, your habits.
So I'll tell you. Here's something.
I love that you were just talking about the car. Like that's a meditation. You're like, I'm just going to sit quietly and not turn on the radio. Not put on a book on tape. Not imagine. Okay, what's my day going to look like? That's a meditation. Like you're just getting centered. You're calming the mind. The chaotic monkeys that are chattering or whatever. Like you're jumping around and you're just able to get clear and focus on one thing and trying to find peace. For my own life, right? How do I find peace at any given second? I can have that powerful feeling of peace that passes all understanding or whatever, right? So it's listening, like I can imagine myself with Dumbo ears, right? And I'm just listening to all the sounds around me, right? And then I can listen, imagine myself on the moon. And then also I can hear like the silence, but the sound of silence. That's like the feeling and sound of peace. And I can access that feeling of peace whenever I want now. And it's like a learned habit now. It's a learned behavior, but it's a visualization. It's a focusing on what the noises are around me and imagining myself on the moon. What would it sound like to be on the moon with Dumbo ears? So it's crazy things like that. So
and the peace and kind of the peace and the quiet, in the kind of the being present. So I heard this the other day that it's much easier to breathe than to be present. I actually heard that I was in a yoga class and I was like struggling, I was this and I was hot and I was sweating, I couldn't get in the right position and I was all over the place. And the teacher walked by and said it's much easier to breathe than to be present.
I mean, it's really true. It's so crazy.
But when if you don't know where to go or what to do and you just focus, you did one thing, you just focus on your breath, that will make you present in that space. And then, from there you can calm down, you can bring stillness. Here's the one thing I do. So I mentioned that I have the standard that I've created, the definition I've created for what is success around my meditation practice doesn't mean I have to do the exact same specific thing every day. So it comes in a lot of different ways. However, I say the same thing every day. So every single day I repeat to myself at least once a day, but usually multiple times. I say, God, my creator, my infinite source, please show me what I need to see to increase my awareness, raise my vibration, and help me to access more of my pure potential. And then I ask God, my creator, my infinite source, to please put 10 people in front of me that I can help today. And that's something I learned from Dave also. And I say that, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to focus at this time in my life really on service and how many people can I serve. And it manifested when I wrote my goals this year. So when I wrote my 2019 goals, instead, my entire life, my goals have started with how much money I want to make this year. It always starts with that since the time I was a kid. And this is the first year that it started with, how many people do I want to serve in the next 5 years? And I have a number. And then I backed out from there, what would it take to get there? And what would this year look like in terms of creating a platform to be able to do it?
Yeah.
And I think that everything else just will fall out of that, whether it's a financial goal or whatever. In order to do that, though, and all the things that were on the list that I have to do, I asked myself, what do I have to do? What's the goal? What I need to do to get there?
Yeah.
What are all the things that could get in the way? And then how am I going to overcome them? But I can't do any of it unless I master my calendar.
Yeah.
And so for me, it all starts there.
I'd love to get a copy of 1 week of your calendar somehow and do like picture snapshots so people can actually see what it looks like. And I love not only just for you, but like people can look at mine and look at other people, because I'm religious about it now, trying to put in where I'm going to do the core for the stack, or trying to do the workout, or trying to do things. And then when things go out of blast, I'm just like, well, crap, it's a full day. I mean, like, it's literally like a full day, and I'm not going to be done till midnight, and I'm literally blowing off the things I really care about the most, and I'm like, oh, geez. And then every Sunday, what worked, what didn't work. Again, how am I going to master my calendar on Sunday and plan out? Do I put everything in there and like, oh, this person's going to do that? And I mean, literally everything in there. Like, I almost need to put in what I'm going to eat now, because now I'm finding out, like,
that's fine.
I'm missing food because I'm like, oh, all these meals are packed. And I think, oh, it'll just be easy to do something, and then it's not happening. So it's like, literally mastering your calendar. And the funny thing is, one of the my dad was really big in with Metagenics. It was one of the top nutraceutical companies. He was a functional medicine doctor, a chiropractor. It was interesting, though, that one of the top health coaches created the program called Health Coach in the world, and he was doing millions of supplement sales like a month or something. And he was like the top guy for Metagenics. His big thing, I remember going to this retreat in Malibu Hills, and he was like, it's all about the calendar.
Yeah.
He's like, this is my life. And when he spent time with his wife, how would he take care of his health, when he'd work on figuring out programs, and it was everything 7 days a week. And he's like, everything was in his calendar. And I was like, and that was one of the main things he pushed to build a successful practice. And he showed people his calendar. And I thought that was the most amazing thing for some reason back then. And now I really understand it, because now even you're talking about like mastering your calendar. And that's where it all starts. We are consciously choosing every minute of the day where I'm going to invest my time, where I'm going, what activities are going to stack to get me to the goal, what behaviors am I stacking every day, the 5 minutes a day that are going to get me the big results, the 5 minutes a day that are going to get the compounding effect that Darren Hardy loves preaching about. What is that compact effect that we're going after? That the fact you're going to impact millions of lives one day, and you're methodically saying, how am I going to impact millions of lives, and then consciously putting that in your calendar, because I've seen it. You're going to call me, you're going to call this other person, you're going to connect with this person. Someone, you showed up today just because Bob asked you to show up today. And it wasn't me even asking, it was Bob asking for me. That makes sense. I even told Bob, I'm not asking Scott. You know what I mean? And then you served Bob to help me. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And and I know you have to be at down in San Diego right now, folks. He's here. Him and his. They're heading down to San Diego to work on some really cool projects right now, and I don't want to hold you up. I know it's probably, we've been here probably for a while, but
That's
Scott,
amazing.
thank you so much for doing this for us, and folks, thank you so much for watching. And it's just been great. So I'm really grateful, man.
Awesome.
So thank you, sir.
It's great to be here.
Thank you, folks, for watching our Fireside Chat. Anything you want to say goodbye to anybody at either one of the cameras? A final closing?
Yeah, I would just like to say that, everything that you need in life to get to where it is that you want to be it's in you now, or it's within your reach. And keep listening, keep watching Troy, because he is amazing. And I just want to thank you for being
Thanks,
here.
man. Love you,
having
bro.
me here. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, folks. Have a great day. And I'll see you next time on the Fireside Chats.